All right, so we are going to talk about slope of a line again. So let's first review some of the things that we talked about yesterday. So we talked about the 4 ways to label slope. So remembering our handy dandy slope dude, we have puff puff positive. I know you're all laughing as I write these down, but it's okay. It's going to help you remember them. We have the nice negative slope. We have the zero slope or zero fun. And then we have the slope going straight downward, which is undefined. I know, I do not sound like Slope Dude. So if you really want to watch him, you can go back to yesterday's lesson and listen. All right, so slope is defined by the letter M. And when we define it by the letter M, we also say it is our rise over our run, or equivalent to the change in y over the change in x. And then we also talked about slope from 2 points, and we're going to do some examples from that. So I'm actually going to put that down in those examples. All right, so the first one's a graph, just like yesterday. Remember, you make the triangle, we determine the type of slope it is first. So things to remember, steps to remember is name the slope first. So in this one, from left to right, when we look at the graph, it's going up in a positive direction. So we're going to label positive. And then the second step we do is we draw in that triangle from 2 points on the graph. Remembering, if they're not there, you have to find those points on your own. These are obviously together, and we want to choose 2 that are, roughly close. You can choose the 2 furthest, the 2 from the middle. It doesn't matter. You just have to reduce your slope to its smallest form. So in this case, we're going up 2 and we're going over 3. So remember, with rise over run, that's that change in y first. So that's a 2, and then the change in x is a 3. So in this one, our slope is equal to 2/3 positive. All right, so now we're going to get into some new ones. With slope from a table, we are always still going to look at the change in y first. So remember, when you are looking at a table, and maybe it's not labeled like this one, you need to put your x and your y in. And when I look for a change in y, I'll write that in our steps to remember. Change in y first. I'm just looking for the pattern. So I'm going to look down this. I see that's a +5. I look down again, +5. And that pattern, you want to check all the way down that it continues. So you know your change in y is 5. I'm going to put that as my top value. And then secondly, I'm going to look for the change in x second. So I'm again looking for a pattern. So when I go down the x column, I can see that's a +1, +1, and then I'm going to check the last 2, +1 and +1. So I know my slope is 5/1. Excuse me. Okay, so that's slope from a table. Slope from 2 points, we did it from a graph yesterday, and obviously, it's a little hard to tell from the graph. So, but when you have a slope from 2 points that isn't, you can label them. So we're going to go down here and we're going to label our points first. This is x1 and that's y1. This is x2 and this is y2. So writing in that, so remember it's y2 minus y1 because our y is always on top with slope, x2 minus x1. So the first thing you're going to do is label your coordinates. Makes it so much easier to determine which one is what when you put it into that little setup. Oops, label coordinates. Okay, step 2 would be to put your y values in. So y2 is 4, y1 is 9. Remember, you're always subtracting Step 2, y coordinates. Step 3 would be your x coordinates. And then you're going to solve for m, or solve for slope. So your x coordinates are x2, 6, x1 is 1. So 4 minus 9 is -5. 6 minus 1 is 5, and we always want to reduce to simplest form, so that's just -1. So slope is -1. Please get in the habit of using that m equals. All right, when I look down at this one, I'm going to have my y1 and my x1, or my x1 and my y1, my x2 and my y2. So when I put those in, I'm going to have 4 minus -6. Make sure you get those parentheses in there. And then 2 minus 1. So that turns that top into a positive 10. The bottom is 1, so slope is equal to 10. Hopefully that made a little more sense than coming from the graph. All right, special cases. So I'm not going to rewrite the y2 minus y1 since it's above in the other problem. So let's take a look. So I am going to label my coordinates here. So this is x1, y1. This is x2, y2. So when I write this out, I have 4 minus -3 and 2 minus 2. So this is a special case because the bottom of your fraction comes out 0. And so if you were to stick this in a calculator, 7 divided by 0, it comes out and it says error. So when I have an error in my calculator, or I have a 0 in the bottom of my slope, we call that undefined when we're solving to find slope. So let's go and do this next one. So we have x1, y1, and x2, y2. So -6 minus -6. And then we have 2 minus 1. So in our top, this comes out to be -6 plus 6, which is 0. And then 2 minus 1 is 1. So good check on this is 0 divided by 1 in your calculator comes out 0. So it is a 0 slope. So easiest way to remember these two is 0 on the bottom, undefined, 0 on the top, comes out 0. Or you can put it in your calculator, but remember, you won't have a calculator on this test, so you'll have to make sure you know those two definitions. Okay, so a few new things on this one. Tables are with patterns, change in y over change in x. 2 points, you put them in with y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1, and then you have some special case situations with those that you need to know 0 and undefined. All right, so I'm going to do this practice with you as a review, and then I'm going to explain to you how to get on the Clever app. I'm not sure if I did it with your class. I want to make sure I go through it, and I'm going to do it on this screen recording. All right, so in this first one, when you do it and you find your positive slope, because it is going up in the left to right direction, and we draw our triangle in, m equals, that change in y is a 1, that change in x is a 2, so positive 1/2 slope. Going down the table, we're going to look at the y pattern first. So I see +3, +3, +3. So my change in y is 3. I'm going to go down my x pattern second. So I see +3, +3, +3. And you do want to check it all the way down the entire chart in case it skips a line and it doesn't follow that exact pattern. So this simplifies down to a slope of 1. All right, so now we're going to go back and do the x1, y1, x2, y2. So I do -3 minus 5 on the top for the change in y, and then I do -2 minus 4 on the bottom for the change in x. This comes out -8, this comes out -6. So the negatives go away, they cancel out, and I can also simplify this down to 4/3. So m is equal to 4/3. All right, another pattern one just for practice, and then we're going to go on to the Clever app. So this one for practice, we're going down y. And if you notice, it goes from negative to positive. So that change in y is actually a +1. And then the change in x going down the x column looks like a -2. Check that all the way down. So if it looks like this, you want to bring that negative out and say the slope is -1/2. All right, so I assigned you on my end something in the Clever app. So I'm going to show you, it's on your iPad, and it's this blue arrow Clever. You're going to open that up. Sorry, screenshot. We're going to log in. You're going to have to search for Noblesville. It should, when it pops up, you can obviously see a bunch of them. Please do not choose East Noble. You want to choose Noblesville East. West pops up first once you get almost all of Noblesville typed in. You're going to choose Noblesville East School, Middle School. You are going to log in with Google. And you are going to sign in with your school email address. Sorry, mine's asking for my personal email address. So you're going to sign in with your school email address. So go ahead and do that. Make sure it's correct. Press next. Let's see if this will work. Type in your password. Mine's going to make me two-step verify with my phone, so bear with me while I get that code. 01058. And it should load this Clever app. Now this is going to end up looking a little bit different for you. So on yours, you should get a resources page. For me, it shows my classes. So you guys are pre-algebra. If it didn't come to this, you need to find this icon right here. When you get into that Clever portal, you need to find the big ideas. It's the one with the green box, blue box. When you do that, it should bring you into your pre-algebra class. You might need to refresh it. But obviously, it's making me choose it too. Maybe not. Oh, there's all your names. It says you haven't all logged in, so it's a good thing I'm doing this. Let's see if it lets me choose. Okay, it says successfully launched. So, all right, so I can't really add you, but the only assignment that you guys have, I don't know what it's making me do. Oh, we don't want to do that. Okay, sorry. You guys should, once you get into that class, you should be able to select the assignment. It's 4.2, so I assigned you chapter 4.2, and you should be able to get in it. Obviously, I cannot show you that right now. I'm trying to launch the Big Ideas classroom. Ooh, maybe. There we go. Okay, so you're going to see this resources page when you click into Big Ideas Math. You want to click on assignments, and you should see what you see on my screen, this 4.2 practice slope of a line. So it's going to automatically grade this for you, and then in the Clever app, I'll be able to see your scores, and this is your practice assignment. You do still have I believe you still have a check for understanding to submit as well. So go ahead and do this first, then your check for understanding. And you can always email me if you have questions.